are more easily dealt with when we are able to come to an acceptance of them. Now, acceptance is a process. It doesn't happen suddenly. It happens usually gradually and often requires going through some difficult emotions in order to come into a state of acceptance. One of the reasons that having a process for acceptance is so valuable is because when we're resisting what actually is, we're using up energy with the resistance. So in order to move to the place where we have as much energy available for as possible for dealing with what actually is happening, accepting how things actually are is an important benefit. So I thought we would spend another couple of minutes just going internally. And we're going to do several of these so we can keep the recording going. And just knowing what you're facing right now, particularly related to this topic, or maybe it's somebody close to you that you're concerned about. Is there anything that you're resisting about the truth of this experience? And looking into this resistance, is there anything that in this moment, with bringing this kind, warm attention to the resistance, that is softening and helping you with accepting things as they are? And so the next area for contemplation is the teaching about the truth that eventually for all of us will be separated from all that is dear to us. Now, if a person leads a life that is longer and has the great opportunity to go through different stages, such as their children growing up, and their own aging, perhaps completing a career, having some years in retirement. There are a series of changes that one could describe as losses. Loss of your own youth, loss of a career, loss of having children in your own home, loss of opportunity for doing something different as you lose some abilities as you age. One could describe life as a series of losses. It's one way to look at it. And people who have gotten to a stage where they're having some of these experiences will also note the other side, that there is a letting go that can bring freedom and other opportunities to arise. So loss can be seen on one side and freedom on the other side. I do recall one remarkable stage of freedom was when my children left home, and knowing that my husband and I could go for a walk and end up doing something we hadn't planned and not worry about cooking dinner for our children. that kind of freedom was, 20 years in the making, or 18 anyways. And so you may have had that similar kind of change in some way in your life. And adolescents are often vying for the freedom of having their parents tell them what to do, make the rules. So let's do a contemplation of what may be beneficial for us to start looking at, of what in our life is something that letting go would lead to more freedom. So just again, bringing ourselves into our bodies and our breath. And just allowing the mind to soften and open to how things are. And is there an area of life where letting go would lead to more freedom? And then we're going to talk about the last reminder, which the reminder about the importance of our actions. And if we are facing life-threatening illness, this is often a time where people do a life review. They may look back and reflect on the wonderful things in their life, things that they're happy that happened, things they feel good about. And that's where we're going to start our contemplation, is what we call reflecting on our own goodness. So whether you're facing a life-threatening illness or not, it's a wonderful practice to spend a few minutes just reflecting on what comes up when you pop the question, what do I notice about my own goodness? What do I recall about my own goodness? And another area that can come up is that when we do a life review, we may find that we have some areas of discomfort that arise. And it may be a time where we want to try to come to terms with those areas of discomfort, whether it's just internally or perhaps also externally by communicating with others about any areas of discomfort. So let's do a reflection on this. If you do Allow your mind to contemplate your life to this date, to this moment. Are there any areas where you have some discomfort? And how might you approach those areas? Gently, tenderly. And just making a note of that. And then letting that go. And then the last reflection is about how we act now in the face of serious illness, if that's what's happening for us. What actions in this situation will be the expression of our wisest and most caring self? How can we bring our wisdom and our caring to the uncertainty, to the medical interventions that may be facing us, to receiving care from others, to dealing with discomfort and pain? So the first area I wanted to look at is that we may be in a situation that's relatively new to us, that we are the ones who need care. And the people I spoke with said that this is a very important area, is to open ourselves up, to surrender to receiving. Makes it much easier for people to care for us and makes it much easier for us to receive the care. So this could be medical care, it could be personal care, it could be emotional interactions with people who love us and who we love and who want to be there with us. So being open to receiving this, in a way, is a form of generosity. It's a giving to open to receiving. So we'll do a contemplation, and I'm inviting you to find words that fit for you when you are in the position of needing help. What kind of words would you want to speak to yourself or to others? Some suggestions are, I accept your help, or please help me. You may need to ask for help. Or I open myself to receiving. Also just looking for what words fit for you. Okay, and then we'll talk about another area of action that can be helpful, and that is actions towards bringing comfort to oneself. So kind of a self-compassion or self-kindness. Pain or nausea or losses of appetite or body hair All of these may be part of what we experience. And being able to open our heart, our own kindness, and direct it at ourselves, often even with touch. So you may want to try this now. And this is applicable to many of us, whether we have a life-threatening illness, that there may be an area of discomfort in our bodies. So one hand on the heart and one hand on an area of the body that is experiencing some discomfort. And thinking of this as an embrace. We are embracing ourselves with care and kindness, bringing our breath softly, tenderly into any discomfort that we have right now. And an image that works for some people is to imagine a mother or a father holding their young child. So there's a steady hand behind the back of the child and the softness of the body meeting the child. Bringing a sense of caring, well wishes, comfort, gentleness, but also steadiness. I am here for my own discomfort. And the last area where mindfulness can be helpful is inviting balance into our bodies. As you may be experiencing yourself or with someone you care about, there are a lot of unsettling things about life-threatening illness. They often come at a time where life is full and busy and complicated. And then suddenly there's a big stick in the works and we get out of balance. So in order to benefit the most from this time of our life in terms of receiving care, of managing symptoms, of facing what's coming, it can be helpful to use mindfulness to bring the body into more of a state of balance. And I thought we would stand up, which might not come off too well. I'm going to stand up in front of the camera. Might be, you're going to see the hole in my sweater. Let's see, I might back up a little bit more, as much as I can, and crouch down there, in between. So bringing yourself into a standing position. Feeling the ground underneath. And moving a little bit from one side to the other. And feeling the body, how it has a natural instinct for balance between right and left, top and bottom. And then we're going to go into the meditation practice, which I had planned to do at the beginning, but we'll do it now. And we have another 13 minutes or so. So this can be done standing, but if you prefer, you could sit or lie. So this meditation is a special type of body scan. So we'll start with our feet, and we're going to focus on the flesh, which I'm defining as the skin and the tissue just underneath the skin. Doctors call that the subcutaneous tissue. So a little bit thicker than just your skin, but not too much, not too deep. And just noticing you have skin on your feet. And coming up your legs, staying at the surface. The lower legs and into the upper legs. And then into the buttocks. And then the belly and the lower back. And then up into the chest, front and back. And then across the shoulders. And down into the arms, upper arms, lower arms, and hands. And then including the throat and the neck. And then into the skin and soft tissues of the face and the scalp with hair or not. And then feeling the whole body in terms of the skin and the subcutaneous tissues, the whole body covered by this. And now coming back down, going deeper in the body. There's a brain inside that skull. There's lungs and a heart in the chest. And then there's liver and spleen and stomach and pancreas and bowels in the belly. And then the urinary tract with kidneys and bladder and the genitals, the internal sexual organs. And then in the arms and legs, there's the muscles that wrap around the bones and into the feet. And then feeling the whole body at the level of this internal soft tissues, the gishy stuff inside of us. From head to toe. So we're back down. We've got the bones in the feet, feeling into the bones in the feet. And the bones in the lower legs. There's two of those. And then the big bone, the femur, and the thigh. And the pelvis. The hips fitting into the pelvis. And then the spine rising from the pelvis. And the breastbone in the front. Sternum. And the collarbones or clavicles connecting to the shoulders, scapula at the back. And down into the arms, the upper arm bone, humerus. And then the two forearm bones, radius and ulna. And then into the many little wrist bones and the bones of the hands. And then back up into the skull. And then the facial bones, the jaw, sinuses, nasal bone. And then imagining yourself as a skeleton. Underneath the skin and the soft tissues, skeleton. And knowing that all of this is impermanent. It was there when you were born and changed vastly from birth through each year of life. And one day for each of us, it will no longer be animated by breath. So feeling our breathing, in breath and out breath. And knowing that when we were born, we took our first breath was an in-breath. And when we die, our last breath will be an out-breath. And we can work with our breath so that when we breathe out, we can connect with this capacity we each have to let go into a peaceful state. But we may need the courage, the acceptance, the kindness of the heart. So we may want to put our hands on our hearts, breathing in and out. And perhaps thinking of those close to us that we care for, and that we feel loved by. And feeling how the heart can provide us with courage and acceptance of what is. And that we always have this possibility of opening more deeply to how things actually are for us. Including asking for help and receiving help, and giving help. And one of the ways in facing serious illness we can be helpful to those around us is through being, as best as possible, at peace with what we are experiencing, and it can bring peace to others as well.